State Sports Link's Third Down Chirp is delivered by Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza. Visit papajohns.com today for more info.
Greetings and welcome to the second episode of Third Down Chirp delivered by Papa John's. I'm Kyle Binder, joined by Pat Boylan and Chris Renkel once again, and we finally have football to reflect on, and boy did we find out a lot about this Cardinal team. They manhandled the line of scrimmage Saturday night to go into a 27-20 victory over the Indiana Hoosiers. We'll talk more about the game in a few seconds, but first some sad news for one of the hardest working Cardinals. As Chris Renkel first reported at halftime on SportsLink Radio, senior walk-on Zach Jordan tore his ACL during practice last week and is out for the season. He's one of the most well-liked and respected players on the team, and if you would like to know a little bit more about his backstory, check out his video on SportsLink's video tab on Facebook. Let's take a look at some highlights from Saturday night now. Over 40,000 fans in attendance at Lucas Oil Stadium, more than a lot expected. Plenty of people in the student section, twice as much as the Indiana student section. Coach Lembo era starting out, but IU would start out with the hot hand, very fast-paced offense, and they finish off the opening drive. The 9-yard touchdown carry right there by Perez off the right side. Then Keith Wunning getting his first action. First drive didn't go so well, but the second drive ends well. Here's his pass to Barrington Scott to end a 84-yard drive. Barrington Scott, that's his first touchdown of his career. Then, after a 65-yard touchdown pass to DeMarlo Belcher that put IU up, Keith Wunning sneaks it in for the Cardinals to tie it up at 14 apiece. Then late in the second quarter, right before the half, Mitch Ewald of the Hoosiers puts in a 49-yard field goal. That ties a career long. But then in the second half, Cardinals not going away. Steven Schott with a 38-yarder himself on the first drive, 17-all. Then the defense for the Cardinals, Nathan Ollie, one of his 2 sacks on the night. The next play, Cardinals with this score.
IU possibly showing blitz from a corner. They will. Wunning drops, looks, throws. He's going for the end zone to Connor Ryan, and Ryan holding it as he inbounds. Yes! Touchdown Cardinals, and Connor Ryan, what a grab. He's been used sparingly in his first 2 years at Ball State, and he just made the biggest catch of his career, and what a throw by Keith Wunning.
With a 7-point lead, the Cardinals in the fourth quarter driving once again, kind of killing some time, and Keith Wunning will tuck it and run for 20 yards here on the third down play, pretty much icing the game. The Cardinals would go on and win 27-20. As we take a look at the final stats, Keith Wunning with a big game, but a well-balanced attack for the Cardinals.
Yeah, and how about Connor Ryan? 2 receptions for 20 yards, but the biggest play in the game with that touchdown you saw earlier.
Yeah, I'm going to guess he's going to get a couple more targets in upcoming games after that big catch.
And here's what Connor had to say after the game.
It was a corner blitz, actually, so I have to sight the blitz. So I was yelling to the line, and so Keith could hear, creeper, creeper. So sight the blitz, and the safety came down really fast, so we decided to turn it into a 9 route, a go route, and kind of just had to make a play, and he put a perfect pass.
There were plenty of bright spots for the Cardinals to talk about in this first game. Kind of have to pick just a few of them. Keith Wunning, though, definitely at the top of the list with an absolutely stellar game.
Well, last year Keith Wunning made a lot of big plays, and he made a lot of bad plays with 14 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. In this game, what did he do? Well, he made a lot of good plays, and he limited those bad plays as he had 2 touchdowns and 0 turnovers in that game, 1 running and 1 throwing. And here's the scary thing, guys. Keith Wunning, he's just a sophomore. He's got plenty more time to learn this offense, and he's got young receivers around him as well.
What I loved about Keith Wunning in this game is he didn't panic under pressure. His composure was far beyond his years. Play breaks down, nothing going on in his receivers. He tucks it and runs, still looking downfield for any last chance to dump it off. But once he goes across the line, as you see here, guarding the football, not going to turn it over. And what I love, he went down before IU had a chance to hit him. A lot of composure, a lot of maturity from Keith Wunning.
Yeah, and the other thing is that Keith Wunning has plenty more to grow with his offense. Coach has said that this is pretty vanilla of an offense. They'll keep growing on this as the season progresses. Also, the offensive line had to get some credit for protecting Keith Wunning and also helping the run game. 2 guys that we really didn't know anything about we now know.
Well, Keith Wenning, he's just a sophomore. Juwan Edwards, he's a true freshman playing his first game in college this past game. And boy, did he impress, guys. 16 carries, 84 yards, and was just plowing over a bigger defense in Indiana. Juwan Edwards had one FBS offer, and it was Ball State. It came really late in that recruiting period at the very end. Otherwise, it was just FCS teams offering Edwards, and boy, did he play well against this Indiana defense, who's supposed to be a lot better.
And let's not forget about Barrington Scott. He has not played organized football in 2 years. He walked on at Northern Illinois, transferred to Ball State, was awarded a scholarship in the offense. He comes out and plays one of the best complete games a running back has turned in, I think, in the past couple of years. Blocking out of the backfield. He had a receiving touchdown, chipped in 60-something yards rushing. Overall, great things from Barrington Scott. Kept the pile moving a lot like Edwards. I like what I see out of this kid.
Yeah, we saw a lot of those highlights, both of them getting hit and then still getting 2, 3, 4 yards after their first contacted, which is a huge help for the team, and especially when no one really had an expectation for him. Blew our little expectation out of the water. Now, Coach Lembo's been a coach for plenty of years, but this probably had to be one of his most impressive, especially to start a season.
Well, Kyle, he's had a lot of big wins at Elon, that's for sure, but I don't think they're any bigger than this one he had this past Saturday against Indiana. He's been an FBS coach for one game, and he's already beating a BCS automatic qualifying conference team in Indiana, and really what impressed me the most was the play calling. Guys, at times I felt like I didn't even recognize this Ball State Cardinal team, and for good reason. At one point, the Cardinals were 10 of 14 on third down conversions. That same team went 33% last year on third downs. It was a night and day difference setting up for third and shorts, and he really called one of his best games, I'd have to think, of his career.
I think you said it to me best at halftime. Is this the same team? How much better is our play calling? Pete Lembo went on to a huge stage against a BCS qualifying school at an NFL stadium. And what did he do? He comes out, he wins, he keeps his composure. I love this coach and his composure overall. He could have completely lost his mind, called some ridiculous plays trying to run up the score or something. He took the win. He did everything right, all the little things as well.
And don't forget about Coach Bateman. He put a heck of a defense together as well, which is much improved from what we've seen. Now let's take a look at around a couple of games around the MAC this past weekend, sponsored by Fox College Sports. Northern up big over Army.
Yeah, and that's indicative, I think, more of how good NIU is. Anyone expecting them a down year, I think, is going to be wrong. Army, a pretty decent team, and Ball State's got them later.
NIU and Toledo expected to be at the top, and Toledo showing it right there.
Yeah, Eric Page took about 5 minutes to score his first touchdown. Watch out, he's going to be doing a lot of that this year.
And then Brady Hoke gets a win over a former MAC opponent, even though it was in only 3 quarters.
Yeah, just 3 quarters of play. Just got into that third quarter, actually. But Western Michigan, they're a good MAC team. That's a good win for Coach Hoke in the opener.
Temple big over Villanova, maybe a sleeper in the MAC this year.
A lot of people sleeping on Temple. They still have Bernard Pierce, one of the best running backs in the NCAA. Watch out for the Owls.
And then Pittsburgh wins over Buffalo. Buffalo put up a better fight than I expected.
It was a close game for most of this game. Now, Pittsburgh, they're not their typical Big East style winning team, but Buffalo for the most part played pretty well against this team.
And then Ohio over New Mexico State. That's a pretty large margin, but they're not a very good team as New Mexico.
Yeah, and a lot of people are picking Ohio to win the MAC, so Bobcats experienced and very good.
Kind of interesting to see how many those scores might come into play down the road because their Cardinals play Northern and Army, so we'll see how that pans out. Well, once again, it's time for our Mic'd Up segment. This week, we'll take a listen in to defensive backs coach Daryl Dixon at practice.
There you go. That's what I want to see right there. Make sure we're transferring the weight, guys, right? I want to sink my hips, transfer that weight. Got it? I want to be 1, 2. I don't want to step underneath myself. There you go. Good. I think my coaching philosophy starts with standards. Here we go. We talk about, we have standards in our room and we don't back down from them. And whether that's academically or out in the field, we set a standard, we don't back down, and that's no matter who you are, whether you're a starter or all MAC guy or you're a walk-on just coming onto the team. We hold everybody to the standards we set. Hey, don't go through the motions now. You know what I'm saying? Do it right. Do it perfect. Be powerful out of the break. But the guy, he has to be inside. You know what I mean? You can't bounce that. Yeah, it has to declare. That's great on your T-step back pedal. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Better. There you go, good hands. What kind of corner are you in that? What's your technique? Tahoe and everything, right. Right, here's what I want to work. Who's my hitter? Let's go. Good, great close, Eric. Great close. Take the grass, close the hip, shut the door, thud him up. What'd I just say? Good, Eric. Good, 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 good. Not bad, not bad, not bad. Here we go. Hit. Go, go, go.
A player you saw a lot there, guys, was number 6, Jason Pinkston. You see him a lot on the field. No one really throws it to him that often because he's so good, and he had another great game against Indiana.
Pinkston's one of those slew of Glenville guys that Ball State has on the roster. His freshman year, he played in a few games. His sophomore year, he took a big leap into being a full-time starter. This year, I think he's ready for another big leap from third-team All-MAC to maybe one of the best corners that is in this conference. When he guarded DeMarlo Belcher, which was nearly the entire game except for Belcher's deep touchdown catch, he held him to 3 catches for 36 yards. That's the best receiver in the Big Ten, Chris.
For me, he is a matchup nightmare. 6'1", a big corner who can make the hit, but he's got the speed and athleticism to cover everything. He covers the field, which means he covers the big side of the field, and usually the number 1 receiver. We saw it against Belcher. They only threw it to him 4 times that entire game. Jason Pinkston, I think, is ready for a breakout year, and I'm excited. He
was injured a couple times. He was favoring his right arm and then was cramping up at a time, which scares fans, but he ended up okay, and he'll be ready for South Florida. Well, last week we featured the new look football weight room, and this week we have senior defensive tackle Adam Morris giving a tour of the football facilities.
How you guys doing? My name is Adam Morris, senior captain of the Ball State football team, and we're going to take a tour of the football stadium today. This right here, this is the main lobby of the football stadium. It's also kind of like a player's lounge, especially during camp. We like to hang out in here. We got a nice little reminder when we walk in every day, all the bowl games, championship trophies in the case up here, and then all the players that have played here in the past that have played in the NFL are up on what team they played for or up on there. Now we're walking down the main hallway of the football complex. This is where all the coaches' offices are. This is the weight room. It's a football-only weight room. We have anything you could possibly want in here, from the machines to the pulley machines, free weight machines, the racks. We have the Olympic-style weights, the dumbbells. Anything you could possibly want is in here. Probably the coolest part about the weight room is on the other side is all plexiglass that we can see out of, but people can't see back into here. So it's really cool and helps you get ready for the game. That was the football weight room. Now I'm going to take you into the training room. This is where you go if you get hurt, sick, or anything you could possibly need medically is always in here. A lot of guys come in here before practices, before games, to get warmed up, from all the things we have to stretch, to the bikes, to the ice and the stem machines. We have the pool back there with the treadmill in it that some guys use. So basically anything you need to get yourself physically ready, come in here to do beforehand. That was the training room. Now we're going to go take a look at the equipment room. All right, this is the equipment room. That's Tex back there, our equipment manager. He's one of the player favorites around here just because he gives us our cleats, our sweatbands, all that stuff on game day. There's always guys constantly running in and out of here. He's organized for us, and whenever we need something, we just come down here and ask him for it. So, this is the Ball State football locker room. Cool thing about it is it's really a players-only area. We're the only people that really come in here during camp. We're in here all the time getting stuff ready for practice, or even just hanging out before meetings at night. So we have a lot of fun in here. We just stepped out of the football complex, and now we're out into the 2 practice fields, as well as the extra half field that the linemen use for their drills. We use the game field for spring practice, and then we use the practice fields once fall starts for training camp, because that preparation is what sets us up for every game, every week in the fall. That was the practice field, and now we're out in the game field. The game field is a very special place for all the football players. All the hours that we put in the weight room, on the practice field, all pays off out here on Saturdays. It's very unique from a lot of other stadiums in the country, from the hill where the families sit to the pillars where the businesses set up their stands. One of the best press boxes in the Mid-American Conference. So the game field is definitely the most favorite place for all the players. We're now in the suite level of the press box. There's 15 community-owned suites here at Schumann Stadium. We have a lot of supporters of Ball State football, not just through the school, but in the Muncie community and the surrounding areas. So every Saturday, we know there's a lot of people up here supporting us. Now we're in the coaches suite. This is where our coaches sit on game days, where they call plays, set out the game plan. As much hours as we put in, the coaches put in just as many, if not more, during the season, trying to get us ready and put us in the best possible situation to win. I hope you guys enjoyed the tour today of Schumann Football Stadium as well as the football complex. I hope you guys can make it out to a game this fall. I'll see you guys later.
Adam Moore is a member of the defensive line. That was a big question mark, but after 4 sacks, they looked much better than expected, and sophomore defensive tackle Nathan Ollie won MAC West Defensive Player of the Week. He had 4 tackles and 2 sacks. Pat, you had him as the breakout player of the year, #1 guy for the Cards.
Well, I appreciate him because he's making me look smart. But no, this is a guy that played a little bit as a freshman, and he was behind a senior and a junior in Renee Perry and Adam Morse. But now he's getting his time to shine, and he's shown what he can do. 2 sacks from a defensive tackle position. Chris, is really impressive.
Even more impressive, you know, you talk about that interior line. That's going to be a big thing for the Cardinals moving forward. They got to be able to get as much pressure on the interior of that defensive line as possible and be able to contain mobile quarterbacks. We saw it with Ed Wright Baker. We're going to see it this weekend as they take on USF.
Yeah, Baker didn't run as much as we'll probably see Daniel, so it's going to be interesting to see how the Cardinals react to that. Well, back in August during Fan Jam, SportsLink interviewed a few players to kind of get to know them a little bit better. And our first player that we're going to feature this week is sophomore wide receiver Jack Tomlinson.
I grew up in Westville, Ohio, small town right out of Columbus, Ohio. And I played soccer my whole life, soccer and baseball until about 8th grade. And then my family never wanted me to play football because I was too small. But 8th grade, I made a decision to play football, and I loved the sport, so I just continued to play. I mean, I had a decent year my junior year, but Coach Lynch came up to my school and said, we liked your junior year, and we want you to come to our camp, but they're only taking 1 receiver, but they have 5 in the mind, so he told me to come to camp and try to get that 1 spot. So I came to camp beginning of the senior year, and they offered me a camp. I never been to a college before, Ball State. I came here and the campus was just beautiful, and the field, I mean, I never seen nothing like it before, so I just fell in love with it. Before a game, I just like sitting in my locker, not really keep to myself, but I don't like holding a big, long conversation. I just like listen to a couple songs and just focus on what my game plan for that team and just get it ready for that game. Coming in halfway through the season, it was tough adjusting to the game, but me playing last year really helped me grow up because it made me like more disciplined and just realize that this is the real thing. So starting this season off, I'll be ready to go from the beginning. Goals for the team, I think we just want to go out there and prove our city and ourselves that we can we're better than what we were last year. We want to win the MAC, and we want to make it to a bowl game. Goals for myself, I want to be more disciplined this year. I want to focus on my own assignments. I want to be the leading receiver in the MAC.
It's time to look ahead now. The game this week, Saturday night in South Florida, Tampa rather, but against South Florida. We also caught up with Coach Lembo and Juwan Edwards earlier this week during practice to kind of get their thoughts about the upcoming game.
We feel like we've got a lot of room to get better, and obviously there's a huge sense of urgency to do that when you're playing a team that's in the top 25 nationally and to just went into Notre Dame and beat a pretty good Notre Dame team.
Well, they're very athletic, but we're going to go out and do what we do, and that's the only thing we can do. You know, we can't go out there and go off what they do. We're going to come out there with our own tempo of the game and just try to play our style of football.
Focusing on ball security is not something you start doing on Tuesday just because South Florida did a great job on Saturday with it. We've been focusing on ball security and good decisions with the football from the minute we got here on January 10th with the players. So
I'm from North Carolina, so it's a lot hotter than what it is right now. And going to Florida, we plan to compete. We're going into, we're not thinking about Indiana no more. That's gone and done with. We're looking to beat USF.
Coach Lembo talked about it, but it has to be a huge stressing point all week. The turnovers The Cardinals didn't have any, but South Florida forced 5 last week, so that also has to be a heightened risk.
That's South Florida's game. That's what they do. They pressure you into trying to get you to turn the ball over. 3 of those were INTs, 2 were fumbles against Notre Dame, and you mentioned it, Ball State didn't have any turnovers, so something's going to have to give here for Ball State. I think you keep completing those short passes.
Yeah, it's going to be a team effort here. You know, defensively, they got to make some turnovers, you know, pressure up front. You know, defensive backs have to be able to take away, make some big plays. On the offensive end, the line has to play well to keep the quarterback up. The quarterback has to play well to keep the ball out of the opponents. And the receivers, they can't do any tip balls or anything like that. They got to be able to have the sure hands and bring down those passes.
Yeah, we'll see. Sean Baker was close to a couple interceptions last week. They definitely need one this week. Let's talk about Keith Wenning again. If he's going to be able to get to that level that he was at the IU game, how is he going to be able to do that against a much more athletic team?
Well, it's going to be tough to go 23 for 29 again. But, you know, at the same point, I think it's doing a lot of the same things you were doing, and you got to get help from your teammates. But those quick passes, 3-step drops where you get the ball out to receiver quick and don't let that defensive line, those blitzing linebackers get to you. South Florida's a quick team, but if Ball State can get those quick passes off and the receivers can hold on to them, you know, they're going to keep those turnover numbers down.
Yeah, he's just got to be able to keep his composure. You know, you go into an opponent's house, another NFL stadium, the number 22 ranked team in South Florida. It can turn any young quarterback's mind into knots. He has to, as they say, drop back, play football, play your game, Keith, and I have no doubt he's going to put up another good performance.
There's no way to measure athleticism of a team, but you can kind of compare. Ball State obviously not going to be as athletic as South Florida, so how do you combat that to be able to get a win on the road nonetheless?
Yeah, and they're not going to be able to take a pill or something during practice that makes them as athletic as South Florida is. But what you do is you keep South Florida guessing, and they did a really good job of that against Indiana. And that's, you know, throwing different packages at them. Sometimes you don't blitz. Sometimes Aaron Morris and Travis Freeman are blitzing from the linebacker spot. Sometimes it's Sean Baker blitzing from the safety spot. B.J. Daniels, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. He can run very well and throw pretty well. And if Ball State keeps him guessing, he doesn't know where that pressure is coming from and doesn't know, you know, he can always run here one time, can always go somewhere one time, then I think Ball State could have some success.
I think what it comes down to is conditioning. Early on in the season, it's all about who's in better shape in the fourth quarter. We saw against IU, Ball State clearly the better conditioned team. 13-minute drive in the fourth quarter. That's when the game counts. Kept IU out of the game. Ball State has to say, we're in better condition thanks to Dave Feely and his off-season program, and we're going to run the ball. We're going to be there in the fourth quarter, and we're going to take the game.
And be a little bit more physical as well. Maybe hurt the smaller defenders if you're the offensive line and vice versa as well. Well, now it's time for our first What's Chirpin' segment of the year. If we choose your question, you get a free pizza from Papa John's. What could be better than that? Tweet at Third Down Chirp or email thirddownchirp@gmail.com. Today, our question comes via Twitter. Luke Barron from Fort Wayne asks, will anything be changed defensively to help contain the speed of USF?
Well, obviously, I'm not, you know, we're not in the coach's room, but my guess is no. And that, you know, Coach Lembo and Bateman and the rest of those coaches, they like to do the same thing, and they like to play their game on the field and make the opponents just to them. Now, they'll definitely throw some different looks. South Florida is obviously going to have the tape of Ball State versus IU, so they're going to throw some different looks at them. But again, it's all about B.J. Daniels and keeping him from making plays and defensively making plays. You can allow some yards, but if you get a big turnover right before they score, doesn't matter how many yards they picked up on that drive.
If it's not broken, don't fix it. That's exactly what happened. I mean, Ed Wright Baker is a great running quarterback. He's a little less inexperienced than B.J. Daniels. However, you know what? I expect Ball State to do the exact same thing as they did against Indiana. Bring pressure from the inside, bring pressure from the outside, try to confuse the quarterback, make him think he has to tuck and run it when he actually doesn't, and then come up with big plays. That's what Ball State's going to have to do to counteract all this speed South Florida has.
Like we'll do every single end of the show, we'll pick players to watch. This week, Pat, who are you taking for the Cards?
For me, it's true freshman Juwan Edwards, and we talked about him a little bit earlier. But this South Florida team, it's a team that's fast. It's a team that's very athletic. But to do that, they're a little bit undersized. Their linebackers are a little bit smaller. Their defensive line's a little bit smaller. Now, they're very fast, but Juwan Edwards, he's a power running back, and we saw him running over those IU defenders. If he can get help from his line and push that pile forward and get 2 or 3 yards after he's hit, setting up Ball States with the 2nd and 6s and the 3rd and 2s, they're going to be in pretty good position, I think, in this game.
For me, I got to go on the defensive side of the ball. Sean Baker didn't have the kind of Sean Baker game we're used to seeing him have over his 4 years here. He missed a lot of tackles. That first touchdown against IU, he missed the running back completely. Really didn't have the kind of game that you need him in a big game like that. He's going to have to set up. He's going to have to say, you know what? I'm the captain of this secondary. I got to make plays. I got to get a couple turnovers, and the team will follow. Sean Baker has to have a big game if Ball State wants to be in it at the end.
I'm going to kind of go with the easy pick. Keith Wenning has to be a guy to watch. It's a quarterback. You have to, especially after the way he performed. He's 60% of the offense. If he doesn't perform at that level, the Cardinals are going to have to find that somewhere. So I'm going with Keith Wenning. Guys, great show again. We're all out of time, but be sure to tune in every single week, Thursday at 3 online. Also, WIPB, Comcast, and Fox College Sports. Also, follow us at Third Down Chirp and at BSU Sports Link on Twitter. And don't forget, these guys will be in Tampa on Saturday on SportsLink Radio on WCRD 91.3. Also, WCRD.net. Guys, good luck down there, and hopefully the Cardinals will be able to pull out a win. For Chris Renkel, Pat Boylan, I'm Kyle Binder. We'll see you next time.